This is Why Am I a Mets Fan? A podcast hosted by Samantha Croston and Ashley Wenskoski.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. We told you at this point we're going to be talking about not just Mets things, but also all playoff baseball. So stick with us. There are more episodes coming this month. That's Ashley Wenskoski. I'm Samantha Croston, and we are two Syracuse-based sports reporters. Today we're going to be discussing a few things. The Mets cleaning house in many ways. There will be several employees who are not returning for next season.
It was a fire sale today.
It sure was. We're also talking about the results of all of the wildcard rounds. Who advanced, who didn't. Some very interesting, hot things going on there. So we're going to start with the Mets, tell you what we found out. This is new just today. We're recording this on a Friday. The Mets have announced that several members of the 2025 coaching staff will not return next season, including pitching coach Jeremy Hefner, hitting coach Eric Chavez, two big ones, hitting coach Jeremy Barnes, bench coach John Gibbons, third base infield coach Mike Sarba, catching instructor Glenn Sherlock. Additionally, the Mets have given permission to assistant pitching coach Desi Druschel and bullpen coach Jose Rosado to speak with other teams pending the selection of a new pitching coach. Did they keep anyone?
Carlos Mendoza.
Right.
That's about it.
Yeah, okay.
It's Mendoza, and it's going to be a whole new cast of characters next season. Something that I did find interesting is that they are keeping first base coach. I think it's Antone Richardson. Mike Puma of the New York Post reported that, and he said he was instrumental in helping Juan Soto become a better base stealer this season. He survived the coaching purge. So Juan Soto's personal base coach remains
He did
employed.
enough, man.
He remains employed. I'm not surprised to see this. I think obviously we sort of knew this was coming. Andy Martino, when he first reported that Mendoza was safe about a week ago after they missed the playoffs, it was followed by there will be sweeping coaching changes. And I think there has to be, right? If you're Steve Cohen and David Stearns, you have to show some level of urgency that what happened here down the stretch wasn't good enough, wasn't acceptable enough, and somebody had to be blamed for it.
Yes, I totally agree. I thought it was interesting. People were saying, hey, these are all the people that Stearns didn't hire and wasn't involved with. I sort of think that it sends a strong message that they want this culture to be aligned in a very specific way. And if there's the same person who is continuing to hire all of these employees, then you're going to have the same kind of culture, the same sort of values, and all be on the same page. I still think what I thought a week ago, I'm so pissed that this happened. My dad keeps saying he's over it. He is not over it. And every time we watch more playoff baseball, he is reminded that he is not over it. But I don't think Mendoza deserves to be fired for this. And I think that you knew when Steve Cohen sent out that very sincere apology that has like almost 30,000 likes on Twitter at this point, which means Mets fans are happy, that he meant business. He did not say that he was going to go in and scan and figure out the obvious problems and less obvious problems if he wasn't truly planning on doing that and making significant changes. I'll say this too. I still think that Mendoza is not necessarily safe. You want to see how quickly he is fired if the first half of the season does not go well next year. I am telling you, he is still kind of on strike two here.
Yeah.
But I think that they actually made the right call. This felt like a strong, powerful message to me.
I agree completely that the leash with Mendoza has to have gotten shorter. I mean, there's obviously, okay, they think he's the guy, take into consideration the NLCS in his first year. Disappointing second year. It's kind of like third strike. We'll see what happens. Eric Chavez put out a message on Instagram after the announcement today. He said, "So thankful for my time with the Mets. Thank you to the Cohens, best owners in baseball, especially the players. That group is super special and they work their asses off. Be grateful in every situation. On to the next." I think a lot of people were calling for, there was just discourse with Chavez all over Mets social media sort of down the stretch. A lot of people were calling for his head in July and August, and rightfully so to a degree. I think a fresh start in terms of the hitting coaches will be good. I think the bench coach that you mentioned, it had kind of come out that he was retiring, but then he said today, he was like, I'm not retiring. I'm just giving Mendoza sort of a fresh start. The bench coach is like the manager's right-hand guy. So Mendoza will have a new one of those next year. The one that I take slight issue with, and I don't know if you're going to agree with this, is Jeremy Hefner. I am not sure that with what Jeremy Hefner had shown the past few years with the Mets, with how highly regarded he is throughout baseball, the pitching lab, the whole 9 yards, that he deserved to be the scapegoat in a year where he was handed He wasn't handed a whole lot. I mean,
Right.
the Mets used more pitchers than ever before. He was handed a half-injured Kodai Senga and Sean Manaea. He was handed, as we've touched on many times, numerous guys who were looking to replicate the best season of their career, David Peterson joining those two. And then he was handed a bunch of rookies. I mean, I'm not going to say none of it was Jeremy Hefner's fault, because certainly there is blame to be spread around. But it seems like if I'm Jeremy Hefner, I wasn't given the best deck to play with.
I'll at least say this. I don't think that he's going to necessarily have a hard time finding a new job.
No, I don't either.
You know, and then I think a year or two from now, if he's really succeeding somewhere else, then Mets fans might feel the way that you're feeling now. I definitely would at least go as far as to say we could be looking back at this and seeing that he is thriving in some other city.
The pitching lab has moved somewhere else.
That's right. But I don't necessarily take issue with it either. That's sort of one of those 50-50 for me. Let's see who else comes in, and let's see if someone else can do a better job. But I agree with you. Out of all of those people, I would say he was probably the one who deserved to get canned the least. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I fall on it. Beyond that, I'm okay with it. I think it sends a strong message, a powerful message, but it's not too crazy either. It doesn't feel rash. It feels like they really thought about it. Clearly, they found out that some of the not so obvious issues lied in all of the people who they decided to fire.
Yeah.
So I guess let's see who else they bring in. Anything else that you want to say on Mets and the changes they made there before we move on to the wild card round?
That's it. I guess I'm excited to see that there's new blood and that, hopefully those coaches will be hired soon and get into the spring training and get into the off-season routine. I think new blood will be good, especially when you have a season like this and you will have some of the same players next year. You'll have Mendoza. There'll be some continuity. But when you have a season like this, you need to turn the page. There's no other way to slice it. And some of those coaches, whether for right or wrong, you don't want them sticking around being like ghosts of the past, if that makes sense.
It does. And I think the last thing I'll say on it is, instead of me saying, I do think it sends a strong message, but even that right now kind of feels like a throwaway line. I think the message that it sends is last year was absolutely inexplicably not good enough. They are still hunting for a World Series. They are still hunting to go deep into the playoffs. And if they don't have that, changes will continuously be made because this is New York and it's the New York Mets, and that's what Mets fans want. And Steve Cohen's a Mets fan.
And that's what Steve Cohen's willing to give, which is refreshing.
I love that he's a Mets fan. I just end up thinking about that part all the time.
I know.
All right, let's move on to the results from the wild card round. Have to start with Yankees Red Sox. I think no matter what kind of fan you are, you look at a series like that between the Yankees and the Red Sox, given all of the history of those two teams, and you think, damn, as a baseball fan, that is a series that I want to watch. My dad felt differently. He said that true Mets fans don't even watch that.
Oh, he's deep.
He's deep. He didn't even want to watch it. I turns it on and he's like, we could just watch football. I'm like, no, we can't. I need to watch.
Nobody wanted to watch the Thursday night football game over that.
My brother had on Thursday night football. I said, turn this shit off.
No,
I don't
not around
feel
these
like watching
parts.
the Rams right now.
Not around here,
Go
partner.
to the Yankees.
Not around here.
That's never going to be me.
No, me
I
neither.
need to watch playoff baseball, especially if the Mets aren't in, because now I have fear of missing out.
And I do like to hate watch. I just need that out there. I
Completely.
do partake in some hate watching.
That's the other thing. I think that in some way, real Mets fans watch that. And I hate to say this. It actually makes me feel sad to say this because I love New York, but I do not root for the Yankees. I truly don't. I truly root against them.
I would be appalled if you did. If somebody
But do
says
Yankees
that
feel
they're
that way about Mets fans?
Yeah, I think so. If somebody comes to me, it was the whole Eric Adams debacle with the split hat. I don't know where you are from. I don't know who taught you that, but it's wrong. You get one, okay? There's no, and I don't think that's I think all New York sports teams are very divisive, but you don't get to be like, oh, well, I'm a New Yorker. I love New York, so I also love the Yankees. What are you talking about?
When he did that, Eric Adams, we didn't talk about that enough.
That
was
not,
so bad. Anyway,
will not be running for re-election.
No, that was crazy. All right, anyway, we had to talk about last night. So the Yankees lose game 1, win games 2 and 3. Awesome series. The Yankees are moving on. Last night, they have this rookie come in, Cam Schlittler, 8
Schlittler,
innings.
Actually,
you're right. You're right. Sorry, Schlitt happens. Cam Schlittler.
Do it justice.
I'm a Mets fan, my bad. 8 innings pitched, 5 hits, 0 earned runs, 0 walks, 12 strikeouts. masterclass. I mean, in front of a home crowd. Damn.
Good old Cam decided that this was his time to shine. The Yankees needed a hero, and Cam Schlittler came out of whatever cornfield he came out of. He was the first rookie to strike out 10 or more in a postseason game since 1997. I mean, you said all the stats. He was just so impressive. He was just shut down all night. Red Sox obviously couldn't do anything against him. They lost 4-0. I think if you're a Red Sox fan, which I said prior to this, the Red Sox have been my AL team my whole life. I do not follow them as closely as the Mets, but going into the playoffs, I was rooting for them. If you're a Boston fan, I mean, you're having a tough Friday. Like, the Red Sox had it all in front of them. They won game 1. I saw some statistic come across, like the ESPN. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was basically the team that wins game 1 of a 3 game wins the series 90% of the time, or 92% or something. And if you're a Red Sox fan, you're feeling pretty good after game 1, right? The Yankees have to win 2 in a row to come back and beat you, but they were in the Bronx. They had a weapon called Cam Schlittler, and that's what happened. But I think if you're to look at the other side of it, I think if you're a Red Sox fan today, you have no one to blame but yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think, first of all, let's talk about how crazy that stat is in general. 90% of the time after winning game 1 seems insane to me. It seems remarkably high.
Yeah.
And obviously the Yankees are at home, and once they won game 2, I sort of always feel like, game 3 is anyone's game. But it's actually 2 rookie pitchers competing against one another. I actually thought both of them performed pretty well. But again, just for a guy like this, who's a young guy, to come out there and in New York, of all places, in a playoff game that is truly win or go home, to put on a performance like that, I just can't even imagine the feeling for his family. I think Yankees fans, I've been interested watching sort of the roller coaster that they continue to go on. I felt like after game 1, all Yankees fans were ready. You were hearing fire Boone again.
It was all over.
Which, by the way, hot take, I'm going to have to see what happens. I feel like Boone always inevitably ends up doing just enough to stay the next year, but never enough to actually satisfy Yankees fans.
He always does just enough. He leaves breadcrumbs.
Yes, and I feel like the same thing's about to happen, because after game 1, everyone was like, fire Boone. And I'm going to say it, I actually kind of think they should fire him. Like, of the 2 managers in New York, I feel like Boone, considering the Yankees' standards, has actually had quite a few blown chances.
I
agree.
But
yet, now you're going to see like this, all of a sudden they're going to go on a run, and then it's like, what do you do? I don't think the Yankees are going to win the World Series. I hope they don't. But all of a sudden it kind of feels like, whoa, they could maybe make a deep run here now.
I know. I don't know where I fall in the fire Boone camp, because I think that he has shown consistent success to a degree. It's just not the success that Yankees fans, deservedly so, are used to and looking for, right? He hasn't gotten over that hump. They haven't won the World Series in, 15 years. So, yeah, I guess we'll see where that continues to take them. I think in a broader picture, first of all, you look at it from a Mets fan perspective and you're like, well, that sucks. The Yankees got away with it once again. Second of all, it seems like they just, once again, they just skate on through. Second of all, you now look at the picture of the American League and you kind of wonder, and I hate to say this, you never know what happens, but you kind of wonder who can beat them. Now they have to go play the Blue Jays in the divisional round. Joke's on me, by the way, we were talking about this beforehand. I always said in the offseason, Blue Jays never win. Well, the Blue Jays did win, and they're here.
Literally before this podcast, we're going through thinking, okay, who's still in the playoffs?
I was missing a team, and it was the Blue Jays.
I'm missing one team. I'm like, it's the team that we said everyone forgets about, and she goes, oh, it's the Blue Jays.
Karma's yeah.
No, that came around quick.
Yeah. Anyways, and that'll be a fun, interdivisional series. But what I'm saying is you look at who's left in the AL, and you genuinely question who can beat the Yankees, because now the Tigers got on through. The Guardians, I felt like, were a team going into the playoffs that had a lot of momentum. Tigers kind of surprised. I would hate to say upset, but with how they ended their season, that was an upset that the Tigers got through. Mariners, a very hungry team, a team with great pitching, a team that wants it really bad, has never won. But I don't know, man. Can any of those teams actually beat the Yankees in terms of another World Series berth?
That's a good point. Let's go over to the Tigers then, since you said it. Just stay in the American League for a second. Tigers Guardians, Tigers end up pulling it out. Not only was it an upset, it was upsetting. I feel like Guardians were a lot of they're like America's team in this round, you know? It was like the team that you were rooting for, especially after the way that they ended the season. Baseball can be cruel like that, y'all. And it's the perfect example of that, right? Like, Guardians have the best end to the season, and you watch 162 games, and then 3 games later, it's over. Sorry.
The Tigers are like the Mets light of this year. Like, they did everything the Mets did. They had like the worst season collapse in terms of the division in like history of that division, and then they come out and they win the game that they had to win. They did what the Mets couldn't do, which is win the penultimate.
Yeah, it's like the Tigers. I agree. That's a good point to say that they're the Mets light. However, the bottom line is the Mets lost to the Mariners, got shut out in a winner-go-home game, and the Tigers made it to the playoffs.
Marlins,
and now Marlins, and now they're moving on.
I know.
So that's the difference there.
No, big difference. I'm just saying they're the Mets if the Mets succeeded.
Right.
You feel for Guardians fans because I do think going into the playoffs, I actually looked at the Guardians as a team, in terms of the whole field, that maybe could go on a run, that had that feeling, that magic, that momentum building off of their play down the stretch. Tigers beat them 6-3 in Game 3 yesterday. They kind of blew it open in the 7th inning, and now they're going to go on to face Seattle. So I think that'll be an interesting series as well.
I just want to say one time, shout out to the Mariners too. That is a city that is so in love and infatuated with baseball, and to know that they had the kind of season they had, Cal Raleigh, I'm just saying, it's a story I am following.
Well, the Mariners are now my team. Happy to announce the Mariners are my team because the Red Sox are out. They've never won. They've never even been there. Cal Raleigh's like the best story in baseball, and they got other guys like Julio Rodriguez. Like, I am a Mariners fan. Thank you.
Maybe I'll just root for the Blue Jays. I don't know. So let's go over to the National League. Dodgers. Y'all killed that. I can't even lie.
There's nothing to say.
And I was but isn't there?
There's a lot to say.
I do feel like Dodgers, Reds, you were rooting for the Dodgers. I was rooting for the Dodgers. I did not want to see the Reds, especially after I saw them doing those silly little dances on Twitter. I was like, get out of here with that.
The Reds tripped and fell, sneezed too hard, and found themselves in the playoffs.
It was, I didn't want to see them again.
It was our fault, but Mets' fault, I mean. But
it was completely the Mets' fault. And I don't know. I walk away from that series with mixed feelings. I believe it was the only wild card series that did not go to 3 games. Dodgers just smoked their asses. In a way, it made me feel good. In a way, it made me feel bad. Do I think for sure that the Mets could have gone out there and been competitive with the Dodgers? I earnestly don't know. Shohei Ohtani had a great series. Their pitching, all of their pitching, lights out.
Yamamoto and Sasaki at the end there.
It would have been a challenge to win against the Dodgers. But don't sit here and tell me that the Mets and the lineup that they have and Soto and Nolan McLean couldn't have put on a better performance than freaking Cincinnati. Don't tell me that.
Yeah, Cincinnati gives her up 10 runs the first day. That game was a blowout, game 1. They came back to make it interesting at the end, but not really.
It's not competitive.
Dave Roberts is going out there with, I know the bases were loaded and whatever at the end of that game 1, but he's going out to talk to pitch. I'm like, dude, you got a 5-run lead. It's going to be all right.
The Dodgers fans were leaving in the 7th inning because LA was up by so much at one point in one of those games. Imagine that. Mets fans would not leave a playoff game
early.
You're
paid to go to a playoff game.
Mind you, people talk about LA traffic. That's something I wouldn't know a lot about. But I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, what a spot to be in where you feel that confident and comfortable in a playoff game that you can quite honestly just leave.
Yeah, what a world. What a life. Honestly.
Crazy.
And then they went in game 2. Like we said, the pitching was so strong. Yamamoto, Sasaki, Mookie Betts had 4 hits. He's been hitting well for them. I think it's an interesting discussion if the Mets would have beaten the Dodgers because they did in the regular season. People forget in the regular season this year, the Mets had the Dodgers number. And that, I think I would have at least, obviously, liked the chance, right? I would have liked the chance to see what would have happened. But the Dodgers scored 10 runs one night and 8 runs the next. I'm not saying Cincinnati has a Cy Young pitching staff, but you look at the Mets pitching and it's almost well, how would that have not happened to the Mets?
I also have another announcement I'd like to make at this time. Whether the Mets got in this year or not, I must say, for the next few years, as far as road to the World Series, the Mets have a Dodgers problem.
Yeah, they do.
And it's going to be a problem for a long time.
And we knew that, I think, even going into this year, right? If that would have ended up being the wild card series, nobody anticipated that to be the wild card series at the beginning of the year. People were like, oh, this could be, repeat NLCS or something. So the fact that they even would have met that early on in the playoffs was interesting. But what I will say for all of our Dodgers fans is I have an announcement to make at this time. which is
Don't
that.
tell me you're going to be a Dodgers fan the rest of the way.
Well, they're playing the Phillies. I hate the Phillies. I simply
true.
cannot root for the Phillies.
That's
If
true.
you haven't heard me say it before on this podcast, I grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia, surrounded by Phillies fans. As a Met fan, they won some World Series in that time, 2008, 2009 era. I cannot root for the Phillies in any way, shape, or form under any circumstance. And therefore, to all my Dodgers fans out there, I am with you, at least for the NLDS. And going along with that, I also think that Dodgers-Phillies, probably two of the most talented teams left in this field. This feels like a series that you get these sometimes with the playoff format that's like the NLDS, but also could be the World Series in an alternate universe, right?
Let me go on the record and say I agree with Ashley, and we are rooting for you, Dodgers, for at least this one series.
For now.
However, beyond that, I will say the Brewers is a team that interests me.
Can't root for the Brewers.
Can't forget about homegrown Pat Murphy.
I know.
And I do appreciate
Syracuse
that.
native, for all of you who don't know, Pat Murphy, a native of Syracuse, New York.
Why don't you root for the Brewers?
Well, because the Mets have history with the Brewers last year,
Right.
too. The wild card
Yeah,
series and
sure.
the whole.
Okay.
I will say, you know what felt.
I don't hate them in a way I hate the Phillies.
No, I
You know what
don't
I mean?
either. But you know what felt sort of poignant? Like the Brewers got full revenge on the Mets this year in terms of how it went down there at the end with the Marlins and the Brewers. The Brewers were playing the Reds, couldn't even beat them. The Brewers have gotten their full revenge.
Yes, I agree. And just the way that it looks right now, I'm looking at the 8 teams that are left. Me personally, it feels like those 4 teams in the National League are collectively stronger.
Yeah.
It feels like if you're one of those teams left on that right-hand side in the picture that I'm viewing, I think that you're going to have a little bit of a tougher road. I think you're right to say that with the Yankees, it's sort of like, damn, now I sort of feel like they probably could beat any of those teams in the field. I hope I'm wrong. Go Blue Jays.
Go Blue Jays. Go Blue Jays and go Dodgers.
The only other one was Padres Cubs. Cubs are moving on, so the Cubs will be facing the Brewers again. I think that's just there's a lot of questions there, but one thing that always comes to my mind is, if you get the bye, is that a pro or a con? And I think the answer is that all depends on you.
That all depends on you, and that's something I will say for the Dodgers-Phillies series that I feel like could be one of the best series we have left. Phillies fans last year against the Mets were really certain when they got blown out in that NLDS that a lot of it had to do with sitting around and waiting and getting that bye. They used the bye, they thought of the bye as a negative thing. So if you're a Dodgers fan, I would just have that at the front of your minds. I'm sure they went through it once last year, so I'm sure they've taken steps to combat that this year, whatever it is with the layoff and not playing for a few days and having to do workouts and whatever. But just interesting. We'll see if the Phillies sing the same song if it happens again.
Final thoughts.
I was just about to say something really bad.
Any of your final thoughts on any of it? Postseason picture and beyond, and then we'll get out of here.
I hate the Philly fanatic. He's so disgusting.
That is a really powerful and strong thought for us to leave on.
That's my thought. No, I'm more interested in the National League series, like you said. I am actually really interested by Cubs Brewers. I think that's a good matchup too. So we'll see what happens, and we'll touch base with you guys hopefully early next week after we won't have a full picture probably of where these series are going, but we'll be down the road at least.
You know what my final thought is?
Sure.
I'm just not a huge Michael K fan. The more and more I hear from this guy, the more I'm like, what is going on? I will say he sort of went on like a rant/roast the other day talking about how it was his time now to screw with Mets fans who were specifically attacking him.
He was waiting on that one for a while.
I believe that there are a subset of Mets fans that have malicious, mean, and rude things to say on Twitter, and their profile picture is Pete Alonso. That can happen across all fan bases, but Michael K just cracks me up, man. He is just flaming Mets fans on his radio show. I'm like, Gary Cohen just wouldn't do that.
No,
Gary Cohen doesn't even have like Twitter.
No.
know?
Michael K has a very specific vendetta, and he like that speech, like you sent it to me and I watched. It was like 4
It was funny.
minutes.
It was funny.
It was funny, but I was like, dude, like have we like gone over this in the mirror? Like he really had to get something out there.
Yeah.
It's like when you give an answer to a question, but you weren't asked. Like he just had to say that.
He was like, I'm happy you asked. And
Nobody
then
asked.
So with that being said, be sure to like, comment, most importantly, subscribe. We really appreciate you being here. Be sure to tune back in. As Ashley has said in the past, we are no longer doing just Mondays now or Monday nights. We are going to continue to be here when the next big thing happens. We'll see you back here whenever that is.